Hello everybody, this is Extern and I want to go ahead and talk about something I've been talking about for a long time, and that's Tony Romo. And for as much heat as this guy's got over his career, over his, I think this is his ninth year in the NFL, he has got nothing but scrutinized, ridiculed, laughed at, mocked, and people have said everything from he's one of the worst quarterbacks ever, to he's a joke, to, Dallas needs to get rid of him. We've heard that a billion times. We've called him a name that rhymes with Tony Romo that people always bring up as that, to say that's kind of funny. It's ridiculous, and I've been saying for years that Tony Romo is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Again, I don't think he's, on the level with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those kind of guys. But lately, especially this season, he sure has been. And when you look at teams built around a quarterback, it tells you a lot too. For Tony Romo to put up 8-8 seasons the last 3 years with the team that he had built around him, with the offensive line that he had missing, with a defense that wasn't performing up to the level of players that they had, or injuries or whatever, to do what Romo has done so many seasons for Dallas is what's really impressive. Because a lot of the reasons Dallas has even been 8-8, and I said this last summer, you can go back and look at Tired of the BS about Tony Romo. I did that last July, a video about how underappreciated Tony Romo is. And what I tried to explain why Tony Romo has gotten such a big contract. Now, with Tony Romo, the only reason Dallas was 8-8 the last 3 seasons, and I'm talking about 2013, 2012, 2011, the only reason Dallas was even 8-8 was all because of Tony Romo. If it wouldn't have been for Tony Romo playing on the team, Dallas probably would have been 2-14, 3-13, maybe 4-12 in all 3 of those seasons. He is very underappreciated, and now that he's got a team around him, now that he's got somebody to throw the ball to, and he's actually got an offensive line put together that can protect him, and they got a running game going, so he's not always throwing the ball and having to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game to try to win, we see what kind of numbers that Tony Romo is able to put up. He's a good leader. He's always trying to direct traffic. With new receivers that come in, he's always, trying to make sure they're doing their game right, they're running their ball right. I haven't liked the way that he's done that in some games where he's kind of pointing out the receivers for running the wrong route when he throws an interception. But maybe it is part of his frustration, with the team around him not even knowing their routes or not even knowing their job. Being a quarterback is a lot by itself. But when you have to go out and know your job and be telling your receivers and your offensive line and everybody else on your offense what they're supposed to be doing, I can imagine that got, a little bit overwhelming, especially in big games on TV. When Romo's throwing a pass and the receiver, even after practicing it, however many times they've practiced it, runs the wrong route and causes Romo to get an interception. But that's not happening so much this year. Instead, what we have is this is the right before Week 17 of the 2014 season, Dallas just clinched a playoff spot by not just whipping Indianapolis, which a lot of people didn't think they'd do. They demolished Indianapolis on both sides of the ball. But Tony Romo these last few games has been amazing in December. So instead of choking in December like everybody says Romo does, Romo is putting up a December to remember. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. I just want to show you this. New stats have come out. And this is passing. But on NFL.com, what it shows you is passing yardage. Well, to be honest, you don't want to go and you probably don't want to have the most yards in the NFL, because that probably means your team is not balanced if you're putting up 5,000 yards passing in a season. To be honest, it means you're probably passing the ball way more than you should be, and you should be running the ball more. Romo's had a couple of these seasons where he's passed for over 4,000 yards too. And when Dallas had to pass too much because they had no running game and no balance on offense. You really want to be able to run the ball, even as much of a league as the NFL has turned into a passing league. Running the ball gives your team balance. It gives you ball control. It allows you to run the clock out, and when you need to, you can still pass quick and score quick when you need to. But you want to really have control of that clock, and that's what it's about. And that's why Dallas is winning so much this year. Now, I can only imagine if Dallas had a better defense, with some bigger names on it. But that defense that they have right now is certainly playing with all the heart and hustle to the ball that, they are playing their hearts out with a bunch of guys that, they picked and chose from the gutters, basically, picked from other teams that didn't want them, rehired guys that were sitting on the couch that had been sitting home for years, whatever. And Dallas has put together a defense here that everybody thought, that even I thought, was going to cause Dallas to self-collapse this year. I really thought Dallas would win about 4 games this year, mainly because I knew Romo just had back surgery. I didn't know the offensive line would protect him as well as they have so quickly with Zach Martin coming in, and I figured Romo was going to be put out. So I knew that how important Tony Romo is to the Cowboys. I knew that, and I knew that if Romo had got hurt early in the season, as I expected to happen, I'm amazed that Romo's held up this year. But a lot of it is that offensive line. But I knew that without Romo, Dallas would have been in trouble. And also with Dallas losing big defensive stars like DeMarcus Ware to the Denver Broncos last season, and then Sean Lee getting hurt, and Dallas was already last in the NFL in defense last year. For Rod Marinelli to come in and get the defense, get this group of guys that nobody's heard of this year playing as well as he has for the Cowboys is what's really impressive. Now, Dallas is still not a statistical leader on the defense department, but on the defensive side of the ball, they're still way down there on the list, but they're not number 32 like they was last year, and that's the big thing. But this video here is more about Romo, and I want to show you this. So, obviously, number of yards isn't what matters. What matters is rating. So let's take a look here at quarterback rating. So let's go ahead and go to the rating. And the highest you can be is 158.3, I believe. But we can't look at any of these guys here that have less than even 100 passing attempts. This is all guys with a maximum of 10 attempts here. Let's take a look at the number 1 leader based on rating with over 100 attempts. And that's going to be, look at this, Tony Romo. Through 15 games this season, Tony Romo has a 70.3. That's unheard of over a season. 70.3 completion percentage. Doesn't happen very often. Not only that, he has 32 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. And his rating here, look at this, 114.4 over the season. There's only 1 game left, so I can't imagine this changing a lot next week up in Washington. That's ahead of Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers is having a phenomenal season this year. He has 36 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. So he has more touchdowns and less interceptions. But see, things like his percent completed is more than 5 less. So Romo has more than 5% more completion percentage on his passes. Romo also has a higher average yardage completion, 8.5 to 8.3. So that's where Romo is coming in ahead of Aaron Rodgers. 114.4 to 111 for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is having a phenomenal season. I mean, everybody's talking about what a stud Aaron Rodgers is this year, mainly because of his touchdown to interception ratio. Well, based on the higher percentage of completions and the higher average per attempt and that kind of thing, we see that Romo is actually rated higher than Aaron Rodgers. He's rated higher than Peyton Manning back at 102, Big Ben, all these guys. Tom Brady is way down here at 98. 98 is still really good. Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers is down at 95. Russell Wilson, 95. So everybody talks about Russell Wilson. What a great quarterback he is. He has a 95.7 rating. Romo this year, 114.4. So I want to go ahead and say that I think Tony Romo this season, to do what he's done this year, with the scrutiny he's taken over years past, I don't think anybody deserves more quarterback MVP of the year, maybe even MVP of the year in the NFL. Because look what he's done to a team that many predicted, like I did, to be well under 500 this year. The Dallas Cowboys were predicted to have a losing season, 3-13 season, 2-14. I heard that, 4-12, 5-11. A lot of those kind of predictions before the season. Dallas was getting mocked at and laughed at in the preseason. And now Dallas is coming out. They're 11-4 now. They could go 12-4, and they could even get a first-round bye. They probably won't, but we're going to see where they go in the playoffs. But I'll tell you right now that Tony Romo is going to have an impressive playoffs. Tony Romo isn't going to, go in there and lay an egg with 4 interceptions and screw up like everybody thinks he is. Everybody's going to predict that Tony Romo is going to go in and cost the Cowboys one of these playoff games. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. Tony Romo is balling this season, and he's going to continue to play really well in the postseason. I predict that he's going to have a phenomenal playoff, some phenomenal playoff games. And if Dallas loses, it's not going to be because of Tony Romo, but we'll see what happens. But look at this season and look at December. Look what he's done. He's went into Philadelphia, played a lights-out game, throwing 3 long bombs to Dez Bryant against Indianapolis, who everybody thought Dallas would lose to Indianapolis because they were playing a home game. Romo throws for 4 touchdown passes and hits 90% completions in a game that definitely mattered because Dallas needed to win that game to clinch their playoff spot and clinch the division. Tell me that game didn't matter. And Romo's hitting on 90% of his passes. So 114.4. Now, if you want to go to the QBR, Romo also leads in the NFL in QBR as well this season. I believe he has at an 82. I was just looking at it on another site, ESPN, I believe, 82.3. There's nobody higher in QBR this season than Tony Romo. He has an 82.7, 82.3, something like that QBR, which is unreal because that's ranked 1 to 100. So there it is for you, all you Romo haters out there, all you Cowboy fans, all you fans of the NFL. It's about time Tony Romo had a team around him. And he doesn't have the number 1 defense in the league or anything like that, but he's finally got an offensive line. He's finally got a running game going. He's finally got balance and good coaching going on. And we see what that does for Tony Romo. We see how good he really is. Look at that. So I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think, whatever it is. And I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. Take care, everybody.